Hey everyone, I'm Brendan Sweeney with ConnectSx Customer Success. Thanks for tuning in to our knowledge transfer webinar today. So this is the first in our new webinar series that's an extension of the knowledge transfer. So as many of you may know, that the knowledge transfer is our weekly educational email series where we highlight certain features, pointers, and special updates that we think will be valuable to you. So this webinar series is an extension of that. We're going to be highlighting key things that we think are valuable to you and will help you get more value out of your use of ConnectSx, and also allow it to be a bit more interactive. So if you ever have a particular subject, today we're talking about stocking orders, but if you have a particular subject that you want to see covered in the knowledge transfer, either email or webinar series, definitely let us know. That's something that we'd love to cover for you. So how do you let us know? And the easiest way would be to access our support portal. So I'll just show you that real quick. Tune over to our website here. So this is the ConnectSx website. You can just click on the support heading, or you can actually access a particular entry. But if you go to the support page, you'll see that you can submit a ticket, you can email us, you can even access our knowledge base if you're looking to get some questions answered on your own. These are all great resources. So drop us a line and let us know what you're thinking. So today we're going to be talking about stocking orders. This might be a little bit new for some of you, and some of you might not actually have the use case to use this, but a stocking order is essentially created because you have manufacturers who are selling inventory to a hospital or facility outright, meaning I might sell 100 devices to a hospital. They buy them, we bill for them, and then they sit on the shelf until the hospital needs them. You might ask yourself, why do you need a special type of event for that? The main reason is because those devices are inevitably used in cases, and some manufacturers need to track when those devices get used. And so why then do you think that they might need to track those devices getting used if they've already been sold, if we've already been paid? There's a few reasons for that. So the first would be providing traceability. The government requires that we trace the UDI, the unique device identifier, all the way through the field supply chain to the point of use. So recording that case happened, that device was used, and then tying it to the patient ID is an important step. And so managing your regulatory burden is one reason someone might do a stocking order. A second reason is keeping an eye on the stock levels. So you sold 100 devices to a facility. You probably want to know when they're down to like 15 or 20 so that you can sell them 100 more. Since you don't have visibility to what's on the shelf once a device is just outright sold, we've created this concept of stocking orders so you can manage what we call facility stock. That facility stock is inventory that's not been deactivated yet in your account, but it's already been sold. And we'll get into how to deal with this in a minute. The third reason would be post-market surveillance. So you sold this inventory to the hospital, but it's going to be used at some point, and you probably want to know, if they have any feedback about the device. Were there any adverse events? Did the device get damaged? This is all very valuable information. So if you don't follow up on those cases, how will you ever know? So let's go ahead and do a stocking order. So I'm going to switch over to my dashboard. You can see here, so we'll navigate to events. And a stocking order is just a type of event like a case. So some of this might look pretty familiar to you. We're going to select the stocking order event type. Then we'll select our representative. So this is a really key step to pay attention to. The representative that you select here will be who appears on the sales order, and ultimately who will get the commission. So if a particular rep needs to get that commission, but the order was placed directly to the manufacturer, so the facility contacts the organization, orders 100 items, before you fulfill those 100 items, you should transfer that inventory to the sales rep. That way, the stocking order can exist between the rep and the facility, and they will get the commission for it. If it's just with the organization and no sales rep is getting a commission, you can absolutely select the organization as the representative. But for this one, we're going to select our sales rep here. Enter our name for the event and the facility we're going to be selling to. Next, and this is a little bit different than the typical event workflow, you'll have to select a facility contact. So these can be set up in the directory under the facility entry. You can just select whichever one makes sense. And our date for the stocking order. Click next. We'll select ourselves as the manufacturer, Acme Corp, and the product line that we're going to be selling. And hit create. So now you have your event detail screen here. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Our next step will be to mark the items that we're selling. So I click mark used inventory, and I can search or filter for the inventory that I need to find. Once I have found those devices, I hit select to add them to my selected inventory, and we'll click next so that we can modify the quantity. So our facility is purchasing 10 of each of these devices. And we'll click mark as used. So in this step, just like a typical case, you can come in here, modify the unit price if you need to. If any of these statuses need to be updated, you can click the little pencil icon here to modify the item's details. But if everything is looking good to you, you can go ahead and click submit. Type in your name for the signature and hit submit for billing. What we're noting here is that the stocking order cannot be reopened. If we want to continue, we can just click yes. This is a sale we're going through with. We're sure about our details, so I'll hit yes. And now the rest of the steps for this stocking order are the same as a case. You want to retrieve the purchase order number from the facility. Once that's happened, you can enter it here, plug in your PO date and your number, click submit, which will move the case from pending PO to pending payment. And then as the manufacturer, you would share the invoice and the facility would pay you. You can mark when the invoice is paid and when the commission gets paid to bring the event to a paid status. So that seems pretty simple, right? It's essentially like doing a case. So the point that we're at now is this inventory has been sold outright to that hospital. But instead of the inventory becoming deactivated and consumed from our account, that inventory has become facility stock. So if we go to our inventory page and click on our filters and look under status, oh, wrong status. There we go. You can see facility stock. So we'll hit apply. Now we're looking at all the inventory that still exists in the system as facility stock. So this will not be able to be sold again, but it could be used in a case at a $0 unbillable value. I'll also note here, if you don't want to pull up only facility stock, but for some reason want to look at just available inventory, you can click include facility stock items in your inventory view, because these are not typically included in just the default view. So I'll go back to facility stock. You can see the items that we just sold. And so this is where we'd come to see, if I look up facility stock, I have 30 items. I'll be able to start to look at what my inventory levels are. So now at this stage, we're down the line a bit and the hospital is using this inventory in cases, and our sales reps are going into the hospital and they're seeing those surgery records and they want to record those cases for the reasons that we described before. So what they would do is go into events, and this will have to be the sales rep that executed the stocking order at the facility where the stocking order was executed. So if it was the organization who sold the inventory in the stocking order, then the organization would be doing this next step. So we'll click new event because we're going to enter a case that facility stock was used in. So I'll select case. We'll select the same representative. Put in our name. And you can put in the patient ID so that we have that level of traceability. Select the facility, our procedure. And if you have procedure modifiers, you can add those here. Otherwise, select the physician who's using the device. If you don't have a physician entered, you can go ahead and enter one. Click next. So if you just need to add a directory record on the fly, that's a good way to do it. Just clicking that plus button, entering your details here. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and enter the date of this subsequent surgery, which will be February 11th. Then we click next, add the manufacturer. This is really the same steps that we take on a regular case. If you have containers to associate, you can do that here. And then click create. So now we have a case that's been created, and it's time to mark the facility stock as used. So I'll go to the Mark Used Inventory tab. And rather than searching for the inventory in the typical ways that I would, I'm going to scroll down and check facility stock items only. So this will go ahead and filter it down to facility stock for myself, for me. And then if I need to, I can further search and filter using the inventory filters that exist. But once you find the device you're looking for, you can just select it like you would in a typical case. Mark the number of items that were used, and they'll be added to the case. And you can see they all exist here. All the information is the same, but this case will always have a billable total because that inventory being used is facility stock. So if all of the inventory is correct and we don't have anything else that we need to do to this case, we can submit it for billing, which will bring the case all the way to a paid status. There's no PO, there's no sales order, there's no invoice. That part of the process doesn't need to happen because this inventory was already sold. At this point, we're just recording its use. So that is how you can create a stocking order and then at a later date, use the facility stock in a case to record when it was used, to provide that traceability, to keep track of your inventory stock levels at that facility, and to make sure you're tracking your post-market surveillance in terms of what devices are being used in what cases. So that's pretty much what we had to show you today. I'll go take a look at the questions and see if anyone had anything to get answered. So it looks like we have one question. It looks like someone is wondering, why can't you change a stocking order after it's been closed? That's a good question. That's particularly because you can typically reopen an event if you need to make adjustments. And the big difference here is that when the case is being closed, that inventory is being sold outright to a facility. So it's not becoming deactivated, it's turning into facility stock, a different inventory type. And the reason we don't allow you to go in and change that is to maintain the integrity of that audit trail, because the inventory isn't deactivated immediately. And the reason is really because A facility stocking order represents a sale of inventory that's technically still valid and usable in the system until a case comes along and you record its use down the line. And so in theory, if we allowed you to reopen a case or reopen a stocking order, you'd be able to modify inventory that might not physically exist in your warehouse. It's actually sitting on a facility shelf somewhere. So if someone modifies that stocking order, it could actually screw up your inventory counts. You could be putting inventory stock back into your inventory pool that doesn't physically exist. So to remove the possibility of that accident happening, we don't allow you to modify stocking orders. But good question. So we aren't getting any more questions in the Q&A section. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I know this was a short but sweet webinar on a pretty complex topic. So definitely go in, try stocking orders, see what you think of them. If you have any questions, drop us a line using the support portal. And make sure to tune into our other knowledge transfer webinars that are coming down the line. We will be sharing and resharing that schedule shortly. So if you haven't registered, definitely check it out. Thanks for tuning in. All the best.